Fables of La Fontaine. A will interpreted by Aesop. If what they say of Aesop's truth, he was the oracle of Greece indeed, and all the Areopagus, in sooth, was not so wise. And here, if you would plead for proof, I'll give one in a pleasant tale, my friends and readers to regale. A certain man had daughters three, each of a different turn of mind. The one a toper, loving company; the second fond of all coquetry; the third a miser, and to save inclined. The man left them, by will and deed, as laws municipal decreed, half his estate divided equally, and to their mother just the same, but only in her power to claim, when all the daughters had their own, and nothing more but that alone. The father dead, the daughters ran to read the will. They were not slow to con it, yet, do what they can, they could not understand it. No. What did he wish? Yes, that's the question that took a great deal of digestion. Each one that had her part no more should to her mother pay it over. It was not quite the usual way, with no gold left to go and pay. What meant their worthy father then, they run and ask the black-gowned men, who turn the case for many days, turn it 100,000 ways, yet after all in sheer vexation throw down their wigs in perturbation. At last the judge advised the heirs at once to settle the affairs. As to the widow's part, the council say a third each sister's bound to pay, upon demand, unless she chooses to take a life annuity for quietness' sake, beginning from the day her husband died, and so they all decide. Then, in 3 lots, they part the whole estate. In number 1, the plate, the mighty cellars summer houses built beneath the vine, the stores of rich Malvoisian wine; the spits, the bowls of silver gilt, and all the tribes of slaves to wait; in short, the perfect apparatus that gives an epicure his social status. The second lot comprises all that a flirting girl surprises: embroiderers, and many a lady's maid, jewels and costly robes, be sure, the town house and the furniture, and stately eunuchs rich arrayed. Lot 3 comprises farming stock, pastures and houses, fold and flock, laborers and horses, stores and herds. This done, they fix with many words, that since the lottery won't select what each one would the most affect, the eldest have what she likes best, leaving the same choice to the rest. In Athens it fell out, this pleased the motley rout, both great and small; the judge was praised by all. Aesop alone derided the way they had decided. After much time and pains they'd gone, he thought, and set the wishes of the man at naught. If the dead man came to life, he said, Athens allowed he would upbraid. What? Men who cherish subtlety to blunder over a will so stupidly. Then quickly he divides, and thus the sage decides. To each he gave the part least grateful to her heart, pressing on them what they most hate. To the coquette the cups and bowls, cherished and loved by thirsty souls. The toper had the farm; still worse than that, the miser had the slaves and dresses. This is the way, Aesop confesses, to make the sisters alienate their shares of the bequeathed estate. Nor would they longer single tarry, but run post haste and quickly marry. So very soon the father's gold set free would to the mother come with certainty, which was the meaning of the testament. The people wondered as they homeward went, that he alone should have more brains than all the lawyers and their trains. Well, there you have it. What's this all about? Well, the father had 3 daughters and a wife, and one of the daughters was a toper, which is a drunk, basically an alcoholic. She loved to hang out in bars, go to drinking parties, things like that. The second was a coquette, which was basically a very vain woman who liked to get dressed up in fancy jewels and fancy clothes and hang out with all the noble guys fawning after her and her having none of it, brushing them all aside. And the third was a miser who liked to save, and that's what she wanted to do. So the father dies, and they run to find the will, and they read it, but they can't understand it. So basically, the will says that the estate be cut in half. The mother gets all the money, and the daughters get a third each of what's left. So 1/3 is the vineyards and the alcohol and the cups and everything for alcohol. The second is fancy gowns, a house in the city, jewels, and some servants. And the third lot is the farms and the farmland and a bunch of basically slaves or serfs to work the farm. So the stipulation is that each daughter, when they get their third, have to turn it over to the mother, or the mother doesn't get anything. So they don't understand this. So basically, they rack their brains and they can't understand it. So they go to the lawyers and they say, here, figure this out. So the lawyers turn it over 100,000 ways. They read it, try to come up with the meaning, and they throw their wigs down in perturbation, which means they're totally vexed, they can't figure it out. So finally, they go to a judge. And the judge said, well, I can't figure it out, so what we'll do is we'll divide the land, and we'll divide it all in these 3 bundles, and each one of you will get your choice. The eldest daughter will choose first, and then she'll give 1/3 of her choice to the mother. The second daughter will take her choice of what's left and give 1/3 to the mother. And the third daughter would get what's left over and give 1/3 to the mother. So each daughter will get 2/9 and the mother will get 1/3. So the first daughter, the toper, the drunk, she, of course, chooses all the alcohol and the alcoholic stuff. The second daughter, the coquette, she obviously chooses all the jewels and the fancy clothes and the house in the city. And then the third daughter, the miser, is left with the farms and all the farmland and the flocks and stuff like that. And they each give 1/3 to the mother. So the mother gets basically the money. And everybody's happy, and all the townspeople in Athens say, wow, this judge is excellent. This is amazing. Everybody's happy, except AEsop, who screams out, what the hell are you talking about? This is the very worst thing that you could have possibly done, and this is not what the man wanted in the will. You couldn't possibly read it the wrong way. So the judge says, well, what are we supposed to do? So AEsop says, here's what you do. The will says the wife, now widow, is going to get half the estate, which is basically the money. But she gets nothing unless each daughter gives her third of what's left to the mother. So he said to the drunk, you get the farms and the farmland and the sheep and all this stuff. And you, the coquette, flirty woman, you get all the wine and the wine cellars and all this stuff. And you, the miser, you are going to get fancy dresses, this house in the city, and the jewels and servants. So they're all unhappy with this. And basically, Aesop says, you can keep these three things as I've designated them, and your mother gets nothing. So the girls aren't happy with what they have, and they don't want to see their mother get nothing. So the girls give it all over to the mother. So now the mother has everything, the girls have nothing. So what can they do? Well, they have to find husbands. So all the girls run off and get married, and the mother keeps the estate intact, which is exactly what the father wanted. So basically, sometimes if you give people what they think they want, or what they actually want, you're going to ruin their lives. If the drunk gets all the alcohol, she's going to be in a much worse state. She's going to probably drink herself to death. She's going to squander her life, probably never get married, and become an old booze bag. And if you give the flirt all the jewels and all the fancy dresses and stuff, she's just going to continue her flirty lifestyle and probably grow old and never get married and never have a family, and eventually the men are going to stop coming because she's just going to grow old. And if the miserly woman gets all the farmland and the flocks and the serfs, she's just going to accumulate money and probably be a lonely old miser, which is terrible. So the father wants to cure these daughters of their faults. And he wants them to go get married and have grandchildren and carry on his progeny into the future. And the poor widow, she needs the money and stuff to stay afloat. So sometimes if people get what they want, they're going to destroy their life. And what they want is not really what's best for them. And the father's job is to do the best he can for his family, even after he dies. So although the judge couldn't figure this out, Aesop figured it out, and that's what this story is all about. So in today's world, we see this quite often. People's lives are too easy. They're just doing what they want all the time. Marriage is disappearing. Fewer and fewer people are getting married. Those that do get married, more and more divorces. People are living selfish lives. Flirty women are messing around with guys that, it'd be better if they didn't. Drunks, drug users, things like that. And just misers accumulating money. It's not a good way. So this story, makes sense. And the elderly basically are left to their own devices and have nothing. And it's a terrible state of society. So wise Aesop solve the problem. Anyway, something to think about. This video is getting long, so we'll cut it off here. If you have anything you'd like to add down below, please. Till next time. Bye. Love you.